Okay, started recording now.
Okay, so hello, welcome. This is the SIG Storage weekly volume populators meeting. Today is the code freeze date, and we don't have anything merged except for the original KEP. So there's a let me try to share my screen. Share screen, desktop 1. Boom. Okay, y'all can see that. So I put together an actual project board on the Kubernetes CSI page to track the various things, so you can see them here and where they're at. So the original KEP merged, but then based on feedback from Tim, he wanted to split it into two KEPs, one for the volume populators and one to deal with the sort of backwards incompatible data source behavior that we wanted to treat as a bug fix. And so I submitted the PR to split the KEP, and I made the exception request to be allowed to do that, but neither of those have gone anywhere. Then there's two specific code changes that would go into Kubernetes. One is the updating the any volume data source feature gate to beta. Let's see if I can easily. Yeah, this is a 2-line change. All it does is it changes the feature gate to beta, because all the actual code for this is out of tree. So this shouldn't be hard to review and approve if we're okay moving the feature to beta. The other change was the backwards incompatible handling of data sources. This is it. So this is the other KEP. I'm calling it implement reject invalid PVC data sources. It adds 0 lines and removes 312 lines. So basically I just removed all of the code that drops invalid data sources and their associated tests. So it's a pure deletion change. In fact, I deleted a whole directory because there was nothing in that directory except for this one feature. And it just removes these two calls to drop, PVC util.drop disabled fields when validating or when doing a prepare for update or a prepare for create of a PVC. So again, assuming that we agree with the intent of the change, the actual code change is trivial to look at and understand, and hopefully agree with. So I think the big challenge is like getting agreement that this is what we want to do. And Tim's suggestion had been like, let's get basic agreement that this is a good direction, get it merged, and then if anyone objected, we can always go back and reverse these decisions later on. And I think that was mostly just an admission of where we were relative to the deadline. So we could still merge these changes and then later say, no, we didn't want to do this, and change our minds and go back. The other sort of big rock is the out of tree changes, and those are something I wanted to talk about today because they're kind of ready to merge, but they're not merged. And I know that we're a little bit wishy-washy about the code freeze and out of tree stuff, and we've been trying to get more strict about enforcing the code freeze deadline on out of tree stuff as well. But this is the big change, the data source validator controller. It is implemented as a addition to the external provisioner repo, and it's mostly huge because of all the vendor directory changes, but it adds the new CRD, the volume populator CRD, which is a very simple CRD. I don't need to go through all this. I was hoping I could just see a list of the files that got changed. But yeah, this adds the volume populator CRD and the data source validator controller, which are both themselves fairly small, but they have dependencies and vendor directory changes and generated code for the CRDs. And so the change ends up being very large because of that. And the thing we needed to decide that we didn't get around to deciding yet was, does this really belong in the external provisioner repo, which is where I've been doing my development, or does it deserve its own separate repo? Because if it does deserve a separate repo, like we should get that established before we merge this. And then we already agreed that the populator library that will form the reusable part of volume populators does need its own repo, and that's another thing that I haven't tackled yet. So I wanted to talk about those things today. What repos should this code go into? Is it okay that the code is ready but not merged by the code freeze deadline? Like, is that something that would incline us to wait a release to
I
ship
think
any
we
of this
should
stuff?
wait a release and not rush it. We might step on toes if we try to push it in and make a mistake.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm okay with that, but like my fear is losing the urgency, because if we say it's out of 121, then everyone will turn their attention to stuff that's still in 121 and they'll ignore this. And I'm trying to figure out how we can enter 122 in the best possible situation.
I think it looks like it's in very good position to be merged very early in 122. So I think as long as we kind of, and we can keep the pressure up as well, right?
Yeah.
So we can keep the momentum up. I think it's pretty much ready to go. It's just, I think the whole like fact that we're breaking it up into 2 different caps, requiring an exception for that. It's getting a little tricky. So if we just get those approvals right at the beginning of 122 and get them merged, then we'll be good to go.
So assuming that's what we do, would I want to withdraw the exception request and then just update both keps to be pointed at 122?
Right, right. And then in
Okay.
terms of this code, I prefer to have separate repos for separate functionality. Is there overlap between what the external provisioner is doing and what this code is responsible for?
Let me think about that. No, not to the degree that the 2 snapshot controllers that share a repo share code. I was following the model of, we ship 2 artifacts out of the external snapshotter repo. Well, actually 3 if you include the CRDs. There's the 2 different images that get built and there's the CRD. And so my thinking was, oh, well, we'll just do the same thing in the provisioner repo. But in terms of actual code sharing, I think it might be 0. So
there is another aspect of this, which is, I know in the longer term, Michelle wants to put all the sidecars into a single mono repo. And so
that was Luis's idea, right?
Yep. And so I think they still want to do that, but since that effort hasn't started, I think it would be worthwhile to be consistent and continue to keep separate features and separate repos until the point that we actually decide to collapse them all.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna, if we go to the point of merging all the sidecars, or at least all the controller sidecar. Oh, I guess do we still have a node sidecar, or did we get rid of that?
I think we got rid of the node driver registrar.
Oh, we still have that. We do have
we got rid of the controller.
We got rid of a
right.
cluster.
Yeah.
It was the controller driver registrar that we got rid of.
So maybe the node driver registrar remains separate because it's not running in the controller. But yeah, I could see merging all the sidecars. But then we would be faced with the fact that the external snapshotter repo has a non-sidecar controller in it. The snapshot controller is there, and we got to figure out what to do with that.
Yeah, I think there was an effort to make them break that up at some point. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay. So maybe that will still happen.
Potentially, yeah. I think the details of all of this is still up in the air.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what you're saying was snapshotter? What? I'm sorry, what?
Was there a plan to break up the snapshot controller and snapshot sidecar into separate repos?
We did talk about that, and then I was like, I just feel there's not too much gain of breaking it up. So I think then that's why we didn't really,
It's a lot of work for some small gain.
That's the reason. I mean, it's so
that was so the reason that I put my stuff in external provision, just because there's all the build machinery around it that I don't have to recreate, right? It's a lot faster to take a repo that already works and add code to it than it is to stand up a whole new one. In this case, it probably is more appropriate to make a whole new one. So I'm just going to have to figure all that out. And that'll just take time and effort.
And it should be easier now. I think that now that there's like common build tooling. It's like a standalone repo that you can just import, and should be easier to get off the ground.
Okay. Who was the guru for standing up new repos? Who knows most about that?
So start with Michelle. I
Okay.
think she'll be super familiar with it.
Okay.
For
Yeah.
all the CSI repos.
All right, and maybe I'll just request 2 repos and get started on both the data source validator and the populator library, and just do them both in parallel, given that we need to do 2.
Sounds good.
And then, yeah, so I kind of like this. What this would enable us to do is to do an alpha release of those libraries like now in the 121 timeframe,
Mhm.
and then go into 122 and actually have beta releases of both of those repos, to coincide with putting the feature into beta in the 122 timeframe.
Oh, nice.
I was going to jump directly to beta with the volume populator CRD, which I don't think is actually controversial, but it's weird to go straight to beta. So yeah, we could do an alpha and then a beta. Although now that I think about it, that also causes more code churn for no discernible benefit other than just checking the boxes alpha, beta, stable.
I guess it's useful to force yourself to go through an alpha just to see, everything works, and get some people to poke at it, make sure they agree with where it's going.
Yeah, but
officially market beta.
But the thing that occurs to me then is we would need a version conversion webhook, right?
Oh, for the V1 alpha 1 to V1 alpha beta 1 APIs.
Or do we typically just omit that for alpha APIs and only do it for beta?
That is a good question. Yeah, I'm not sure what the convention is. I think it may depend on how widespread the usage is of the alpha.
Snapshots are GA, right? Right, Sheng?
Yeah, it is GA.
Is there a version conversion webhook that converts your beta snapshots to V1?
Oh, we do, yes. I think there is a conversion. I think it's automatic actually. We don't really have a separate I think it's automatic converted.
How is it automatic?
We don't really have any extra logic in the controller to do that. I think it's it might be the
Cube builder.
What is that? The controller gen or something. Might be something like that.
So you mean, is it the case that Kubernetes API will automatically convert versions with some fallback method where it just copies the fields if they're the same?
Yeah, so it's basically because the default, right? So basically the stored, we have like a stored version. It is still V1 beta 1. So if you can request V1, but we store it at V1 beta 1 basically. So right now it's still, there's just, you can have 2 request version, 2 served version or something.
Yeah.
And then
I'll have to look at how this was done for snapshots and follow that method, because yeah, if we can avoid needing any kind of conversion webhook, that's less code to write and less things to deploy. And presumably nothing will change between alpha and beta and GA. Or if they did change, it would be a surprise.
Yeah, I actually have the question why is there a change from the alpha to beta for the API, or because I probably missed this one, why you need a conversion in this case? Well,
it's just the way Kubernetes API server handles versioning is fairly sophisticated, and it is possible to make significant object changes between object versions, and it's possible to have webhooks that help the API server perform those conversions for you. But
yeah,
you're still alpha, right? I mean, so I guess the question probably is why you need that right now.
Yeah, I mean, from alpha to beta, if there is no API change, why we need the conversion hook?
We don't support that from alpha to beta. For snapshot, we didn't support that, right?
Well, yeah, or maybe the API server's fallback conversion just works. so that if you happen
But
to
I
have
mean, we're
something
not
alpha,
supposed to support backward compatible for alpha anyway. Why do you want to? That's not
it-
Kubernetes. Normally, Kubernetes does not support alpha
Okay.
once you move to beta, right? It's not. It's not
but if
supported.
I think it's
no
a case by case basis, right?
Yeah,
You want to,
if no fields
Uh-huh.
change and you just take the alpha and stamp beta on it, then there's no reason to break any existing users of the alpha feature. You could just convert it to beta magically. Obviously, if you add a field or take away a field between alpha and beta, yeah, you don't want to do any extra work to support people on the old version. But if it literally didn't change,
I would recommend taking a look at KubeBuilder. They've actually gotten pretty advanced in helping you build CRD APIs and controllers. And you can even
Yeah.
use it just to build a CRD if you want. And just things like handling this, the conversion webhook and all of that, they make it pretty straightforward.
yeah, I actually discovered this when I was tinkering with my code, because currently both the snapshot controller and this data source validator controller are using Kubernetes 119 version of the code gen. And I thought to myself, oh, I'll just upgrade to version 120. And everything changed and everything broke when I did that, because they
Oh,
added
no.
they added a bajillion new features. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to go back to 119 because I don't want to have to learn all these new features. But now
Yeah.
if there's time, I can go learn them and figure out what the right way to do this CRD generation is, because yeah, they've clearly been doing a ton of work on controller gen, which is the thing that generates the
Nice.
Yeah, by the way, I think if you try to the computer, it's still on the line using the controller gene, so you still may have this.
Well, yeah,
problem here.
the binary is called controller gen.
Yeah, right.
When you run the binary, it all of the help text is talking about KubeBuilder. So
Yeah, but it's still different. If you directly use KubeBuilder, I think it's even easier. But of course, you have to learn, the KubeBuilder way.
Yeah, KubeBuilder is like a wrapper around all of it. And
Yeah.
there's a new 3.0 version. So I think KubeBuilder has 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. So each one is backwards incompatible.
nice.
Yeah, I think some of those things, like for, I think our webhook, right? If we use the KubeBuilder, that will be much easier. But because we don't have that, we actually have to manually write that. So
Yeah,
you may want
KubeBuilder
to-
basically like writes a skeleton of controllers and webhooks and all of them for you. So you just go in and implement the methods.
Oh yeah, I've heard all the good things about KubeBuilder. My question has always been, to what extent are we allowed to rely on it in core Kubernetes? Because the cozy guys have been talking a lot about using KubeBuilder, and the pushback was, well, if cozy becomes a core Kubernetes thing, you don't want to have a circular dependency where KubeBuilder depends on Kubernetes and Kubernetes depends on KubeBuilder. And because that's a weird situation to be in. So like KubeBuilder is great for stuff that's out of tree, but anything that's in tree might not be allowed to rely on KubeBuilder unless KubeBuilder itself becomes in tree, or they figure out a way to refactor it to avoid circular dependencies. But yeah, that's all stuff to be figured out. So all right. I think I know what to do on the versioning. I think I know what to do on the repos. I got to follow up with Michelle. I can withdraw the exception request and send a note to Tim saying we're going to punt it to 122, so there's time. And I still want to push on the backwards incompatible data source handling KEP, and see if we can get people to make a decision on that. Because again, the code is very simple. You just delete a bunch of stuff. The question is that the behavior we want? I guess I'll ask Xing and Saad if you guys have any memory of what we were thinking with this. I'm gonna load the code again. With this drop disabled fields, these drop disabled field calls when we initially implemented data sources.
I don't really remember there was any like reasoning on it. It's just probably just follow some other examples, and then just I don't really remember like we had any discussions on why we should do this. I don't really remember, because if there was like a big discussion, I would remember something.
Yeah, it's been a mystery to me, and it feels weird to submit a change that just deletes a bunch of code that's been around for a while, because and no one remembers why it's there. It makes me very nervous. But
What does the Git history say? Who is the one who added this?
yeah, I'm loading that up right now. Let me see if I can so it's in persistent volume claim strategy. What branch am I in? Okay, I gotta get in a different branch. Okay. Check out master branch. Okay, yeah, there it is. Let's do annotate with git blame. Liget added the drop disabled fields.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. That is that is surprising. Liget usually knows what he's doing. So when was this? 2018.
Was that?
Yeah, it might be
that-
worth poking. I wonder if it was a refactor of something that was already happening and he like put it into.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to load up this here persistent
Like the
volume
original,
claim.
maybe see the original PR and see what
So
is.
here's here's the implementation of that function, and we can see who wrote most of this stuff. Okay, we got Griffith, more Griffith, a little bit of Liget touch the declare. Who's Agostia? I don't know who this is. I touched it here when I added my alpha feature gate. The rest of it is Griffith. Xing, you touched one
Is
line.
that me? I don't know if that's me. Why? Okay, maybe. Okay. But
It
that's
has
not
to be you
me.
because it's snapshots, right?
Okay, yeah. Just show the last name. I don't know. I thought it should be like GitHub name or something. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I don't.
This is what my ID shows.
Yeah, John Griffith might know since he was probably the one who added it. My guess is Liget did a refactor, but if John doesn't know, we can check with Jordan. Worth poking
Okay.
them both and being like, yo, do you remember any of
Do
this?
you remember?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but this is something I'd like to get at least agreement on, so we can merge this one first thing in 122, if that's what we're going to do. And then, of course, the rest of it may or may not be ready the moment 122 opens up. Okay. I don't know what else. Let me see what else is on the agenda. So yeah, we talked about the new repos. Talked about the code free status. Yeah, I guess that's all I have. I guess the work item for me is to sort of tell people we're not going to put this in 121, and then get to work on the repo stuff, so that we can get those alpha releases out and then be positioned to go early in 122. Sound good?
Yep, sounds good to me. Thank you for all your hard work on this.
Yeah, it's been off and on. Like I do a little bit here, and then I get distracted, and then the deadline comes up, and I realize, oh, got to go work on this again. It hasn't been a sustained effort, unfortunately.
I know it's hard to dedicate 100% attention on open source stuff. I'm struggling with it too.
All right, well, that's all we have. I guess the other question is about these meetings. I guess in order to try to keep attention on this, or we can keep them at weekly, but there's probably going to be less stuff to discuss, because it's just going to be working on the repos and a bunch of side discussions with Jordan and Tim, I guess, and other people. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to have in these meetings going forward, but we can leave them as a weekly and then see if we have nothing to talk about and cancel them.
Do you want to make it like bi-weekly? Think that then maybe we have more topic?
Maybe.
Yeah, let's keep it weekly for now, and then if needed, just cancel it, preferably the day before if there's no agenda. And then if we find
Yeah.
that we're canceling too frequently, we can reduce the frequency.
Okay. The only thing is I don't have a way to notify people that it is canceled because I don't have access to
You
the
send out
calendar.
but you sent out the invite, right? You
No, I sent the invite to you and then you sent it
I think
to.
it's on the official SIG calendar.
okay.
Just add it to the agenda doc.
I mean, I can put a note in the agenda if it's going to be canceled. I can send a note to the
Mhm.
three
SIG
of you.
storage. Yeah,
or
just the three of
SIG
us.
storage.
Yeah, either way
and-
works.
Okay. All right. That works for me.
Cool.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
All right.
take care.
Bye-bye.